For these 1 year version,
Yeah, these are Paul Harris fellows. And Allison Scott. Hey, Jim, stay over there. It's a Paul Harris fellow plus 1 for Jim Alexander. Okay, a Paul Harris fellow plus 1 for Ken Ferris. Paul Harris fellow plus 2 for Whit Adams. Harris fellow plus 2 for Frank Robinson. The Paul Harris fellow plus 3 for Ellen Fowler. A Paul Harris fellow plus 3 for Tom Sullivan. Tom, they're gonna get you back there. Paul Harris fellow plus 3 for Annette Winston. Okay, I guess Annette's didn't make it today. Paul Harris fellow plus 4 for Jim Decker. Okay, today we have 2 major donors. The first is Ed Anderson, major donor 1. And our second major donor is Mark Linden. Round of applause. Okay, so you're probably wondering, who is John Germ? And for those of you that are fairly new members that don't know, I'm going to do this introduction for him before he speaks to us today. John is a graduate of the University of Tennessee. He's a retired chief executive officer and board chair of Campbell & Associates, an engineering firm located in Chattanooga. John has always made time to give back to his community, serving on many nonprofit boards. His most notable accomplishments being work with children and adults with intellectual and or developmental disability. John led the effort to build Camp Discovery, which allows anyone with special needs to experience the joy that is summer camp. He also spearheaded a capital campaign to raise funds for Orange Grove Center, the school for the mentally challenged. These funds were used to construct a residential rehabilitation center, residences, physical therapy area, and a recycling center. John joined Rotary in 1976 and has served as president of Rotary Club of Chattanooga, district governor, Rotary director and trustee, Rotary International vice president and president, as well as chairman of the Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees. It's pretty much every volunteer role you can have in Rotary. For his many efforts, John has received Rotary Service Club Self Award, the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service, the Rotary Foundation Distinguished Service Award, and the Rotary Foundation International Service Award for a Polio-Free World. John and his wife Judy have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. However, I'd say that John is most recognized as a part-time auctioneer whose lifetime of fundraising has helped eradicate polio for the children of the world. So please give a warm welcome to my good friend, John Germ.
Good to be back with you again, and see so many friends here that, and where's Margaret? There's our heroine of the year. He has done a super job with the purple pinky, and not to tell y'all that the cost is going up or anything. There used to be a dozen in the box, now there's 10. Just like everything else has. Dave, where you at? Right there. Oh, right there. Dave is a guy that I like to talk about. He's like everybody else sitting in this room that has an idea, but he implemented it. He's the daddy that came up with the idea of the purple pinky. This year we have 1.4 million. I think it is a close mark. I know who you're gonna check with, that's right down there. About 1.4 million counting match.
1.57.
So they have taken this thing from scratch, literally, and made what it is today. Just think of the number of children that are being vaccinated because of that. I see my friend Towns Osborne. Towns is the one that came up with riding bicycles, doing bicycles, but she also was the person that headed up the campaign to do the Bill Sergeant statue out there on Mid-Market Square. You know, a lot of people don't even know who Bill Sergeant was. So Bill was the guy that was asked to do a job one time, just like many of you are asked to do jobs. And he was asked to chair a committee called the International Polio Plus Committee. He said no. Then he was reminded as a Rotarian, you can't one time to say no. That's when you become a Rotarian. Other than that, you're in.
Yeah.
So he chaired that for 12 years. Traveled all around the world. And I'll talk a little bit more about polio a little bit later, but this whole community is known for the volunteerism. Jim Decker was a medic program that has done so good here at Flying Blood. Ed, I'm gonna be surprised to get this many people to really stay with you to Singapore, but I hope you do. Because it's a wonderful place, very modern. You got this surfboard on top of the 2 hotels there with a swimming pool in it. So it's very nice. Take you some money. It does cost a little bit to go, but you're gonna have some great speakers there. And it'd be a wonderful time to see the world Rotary. When I talk about the world of Rotary, I'm talking about the fact that we are all together in over 200 countries, geographic regions, to do one thing: That's to provide service below self. As we listen to the announcements that were being made, that's what you're doing. You're helping other people. You know, a lot of people ask me, said, what's going to be our next major project after the eradication of polio? I said, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. The reason we don't know is because we have 7 areas of focus. 7 areas of focus in the Rotary Foundation. I can guarantee you there is not a item that you can think of that will not be covered in one of those 7 areas of focus. The Frank's area is water. He drinks a lot of it. They cook with it. They wash with it. And think about the people that we can go right up the road, 75, 40, up into Kentucky. And we had to get a grant from the Rotary Foundation, where our partners in Mexico with international sponsor, in order to provide clean water for a city that's about 70 miles from here.
Not very far.
Not very far, within spitting distance, that we used to say. Just think of that, everybody has their own little thing. Just recently, 3 years ago, we announced a program that came up from an individual that was thinking, but what can we do about malaria? And so they asked some people about malaria. They worked down in Malawi to see what they could do about killing mosquitoes. That's who carries malaria, isn't it? Just like the human body carries the polio virus. We said we'd put up $2 million out of the Rotary Foundation in order to do a grant of impact. But you've got to go raise the money, $2 million to match it. Rotary Club of Federal Way in Washington State raised $2 million from the Gates Foundation. You all heard that name before. Then they raised $2 million for Moral Vision. So we implemented that project along with the Rotarians and all the places that we need to go in order to find out where they're interested in malaria. That project has been so successful that we're now entering into a 5-year agreement with the same partners for $30 million. That's your work. That's what you've done by contributing to the Rotary Foundation. Or how about something that Jim, Frank, and I, several people are very much interested in, is having clean whole blood. I was in Uganda and had the opportunity to go dedicate a blood bank. Now, Rotary don't do brick and mortar, but we do the equipment, the instruments, the beds, the drawing stuff and everything, pictures. I asked Emmanuel, a friend of mine, I said, why are you interested in furnishing the money to construct this blood bank? He said, well, it's very personal. Now, we don't think about blood when we go to the hospital. We just know it's going to be there, right? Or we hope it's going to be there. And if we don't get more donors, it ain't going to be there much longer. But we always need donors for blood. He said, my sister died from giving childbirth behind our house. She bled to death. We don't think about things like that. So we have a project in Nigeria for child maternal health. It has decreased the deaths, the diseases tremendously. Again, the Rotary Foundation, you put up $2 million. It was matched by Emmanuel, and it was matched by other Rotarians and the government. Uganda. Cervical cancer. We now are doing cervical cancer projects in Egypt. Now we know about the Middle East and all the turmoil that's going on over there. But you also know about the Peace Centers Project. We have over 1,200 graduates who studied peace and conflict resolution. Can you think of a better place to have a new one started than in Turkey? 6 different universities made applications in Egypt and Turkey. 2 years ago, I announced we selected Ball University in Istanbul. They're putting up money to help them pay some of the administrative costs. But see, I believe in partnerships. I believe that as a team, that together everyone can achieve more. And that's why it's so important to get this NAD out of here. So that we can all work together to help solve some of human needs. And that's what the foundation is all about. We started back in 1979 with a project that was a dream of one individual. This man's name was Sir Clem Renoff from Australia. He had the idea of smallpox had been eradicated. Was there anything of that magnitude that we might have done as a group? And up until 1979, Rotary only worked within their own communities, never really reached across the globe and realized that we had brothers and sisters that we needed to help also. He called a man by the name of Dr. John Sever. And he asked Dr. Sever, is there anything of this magnitude that Rotary could become involved in? And John said, well, let me check. So he called again, Dr. Saban. They knew each other through Rotary. Dr. Saban said, yes, there is, but it's going to take a lot of money. And it's going to take a lot of dedication. And it's not going to be done all at once. Well, Jonas Salk is the one that invented the vaccine. But Jonas Salk said it couldn't be done. Now, what happens when you tell Rotarians it can't be done? Well, you get up and go do it. So Rotary took it on with $760,000 grant. And they asked for countries to make application for these funds. Chose the Philippines. The grant was to do 6 million vaccinations for 6 billion children in the Philippines. Now, the reason it was so successful is because you had Rotary, you had health officials, you had the government, and the Rotarians. They're all willing to work together as a team. Together, everyone achieves more. It was successful. 1982, Rotary goes to the World Health Assembly, and they told Rotary, you don't have money. You have changing leadership. You change your leaders every year. We've never worked with a non-governmental agency. So what did Rotary do? How much would it cost if we wanted to eradicate polio from all over the world? $120 million. Rotary had never had a fundraising campaign. Rotary had never done anything of this magnitude. They said, yeah, we can do it. So they hired a professional fundraiser. Professional fundraiser said, you can't do it. You've never had a fund drive. You've never had this experience. If you could raise $120 million, you wouldn't do it in your time frame. You wouldn't collect everything, because some people make pledges and they die, or they move away, whatever. Well, Rotary didn't do $120 million. Raised $247 million. You see, working together, we can accomplish a lot. Well, in 1985, when we had said we'd raise this money, guess who came on board? The government. World Health, UNICEF, CDC, but I want you to remember that it was Rotary, you and your predecessors, that started that back then. Now, I know there's a couple of people in here that were in Rotary in 1985. Joe, raise your hand or stand if you can. No, 1985, there's one right there. Right back there. Let's thank these individuals because they're the ones that said back. They're the ones that said, we can do this and we will do it. They've gone from 1,000 cases a day in 125 countries. That right now we have 10 cases, and they're in 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, when they guessed at $120 million, they didn't go to UT. They must have went to Auburn or somewhere because their math was a little bit off. Maybe it was Georgia Tech. So their math was a little bit off because that wasn't enough money. It made progress, but we miscalculated. Bill Sargent was a dear friend of mine. And I asked Bill, I said, Bill, where'd y'all come up with $120 million? He said, well, it takes about 60 cents in order to vaccinate a child. And there's about 1 million children under the age of 5 in the world. So that gave us a cushion. I said, well, Bill, did you ever think people were still going to have babies? He said, well, we did miscalculate. Well, in 2007, we had a wonderful opportunity. Now, Rotary had in 2003, we had another fund drive. We had an $80 million goal, got $135 million. But in 2007, California, it was announced that there was an individual that was going to give Rotary $100 million in order to help eradicate polio. That result was because the year previous, they had a big storm in Louisiana. Hurricane came through, and we could not have a convention in New Orleans. So the convention was moved to Salt Lake City. Bill Gates Sr. was a speaker at Salt Lake City. And he saw what the Rotary Foundation and each of you were doing in order to contribute funds to do good in the world. He also saw that polio and Rotary had made this big progress. So they wire transferred in November of 2007, $100 million to the Rotary Foundation. 3 things that were said. Number 1, you must promise to spend that money by December the 31st of 2008. Number 2, we're asking you to raise $100 million by June the 30th of 2010. We didn't have a campaign. We didn't even know who was going to do this, but we knew we weren't going to tell Bill Gates no. I mean, who's going to turn down $100 million? Remember, it was Rotary's idea. It was Rotary's promise to the children of the world that we would, in fact, eradicate polio. We took that campaign on. We were about halfway through. We had about 47 million of it. When Gates says, great work. I'll give you another $100 million if you'll raise another $100 million. All of a sudden, we've gone from owing just a few million to a lot of millions. And we said, okay. Well, bottom line is, we raised $217.8 million before the deadline, and he gave us an incentive. He didn't ask us to raise more money. He just said, here's $54 million to help you with polio. We have an arrangement with the Gates Foundation that no other organization has, no government has. We're the only ones that he will match 2-to-1 for up to $50 million that we raised for polio. Last year, by June the 30th, we had raised $50 million. So in January, he will wire transfer $100 million to the Rotary Foundation. The third thing that's very interesting about this partnership is that we get the money. They have no say in how we spend the money. You see, he trusts Rotary. He says, it's your project. There would not be a polio eradication effort if it were not for Rotary International. You're to be thankful for that. So you see, you're the ones that make those contributions, whether it be the Polio Plus Society, whether it be through your annual giving program where the district puts up money to help match for the donut sales. Those type of things is what makes us the great organization that we are today. Now, the miscalculation of $120 million, we now spend in order to eradicate, to vaccinate 400 million children a year, which is what we have to do until it's all gone. Now it costs us $950 million a year. Now you talk about escalation. I think that's escalation. We've got problems in Nigeria. They still have the vaccine-derived polio cases in a lot of places in Africa that we still have there. So we have to go back in there and mop up what we call VAPA. So we got to do vaccine called oral polio type 2, novel oral polio actually type 2. Because that's the only one that carries that particular virus. But we've got to continue the job that we started. I know people get tired, people get saying, why do you keep asking for money? Well, we keep asking for money because we still got polio. We still got people that are hungry, that we work with the Cook Foundation in order to do projects there with them. We got water projects we got in Pakistan. Coca-Cola is a big partner there. Because you see, they need clean water, make Coca-Cola don't. Well, we all think about Budweiser. They need a lot of water too. All these people that need this water. Where's that virus coming from? A person drinking dirty water, having diarrhea, excreting that out, somebody else coming in touch with it. In Afghanistan, we finally got where they're now letting us go door to door there in order to reach the children. Bottom line is, we've got to reach every child. I could talk for 30 more minutes or 40 more minutes, but you're not going to listen. I understand that. So I'm here today to say, thank you for those donors that we just recognized. Thank you for those that have given in the past and will continue to give. Because you see, it's your dollar. It's not the money. It's not the money. It's what the money can do. You have been involved in a lot of grants. Just think about the smile on a mother's face. When you don't speak her language, she don't speak your language. That she knows that when you squeeze that mouth and you put 2 drops in, you give her child the equipment. So thank you for those that were here in 1985. Thank you for those that are here now. Thank you for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Words are inspirational, motivational, and makes me personally proud to be a Rotarian. I appreciate your time. It is our tradition.